Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to go and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to have our national anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
America's finest, United States Army Barbershop Quartet, coming from the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We appreciate these men and women of the United States military. These men dedicated their time to do this kind of work for all of us. No, I did not talk to them. I spoke to the people that created this video and got permission to put it on the air. These are America's finest fighting men and women of the world. I also want to thank them for their service. All of our men and women around the country or around the world. I also want to thank our allied forces around the world. Those people that support the United States and help protect the world. Yes, we are the world's policemen, literally. There's a lot of stuff going on. I want to thank them, and I hope all of you also thank them for their service whenever you see them in uniform, wherever they might be, either here in the United States or around the world. Thank them. Put out your hand, shake their hand, and thank them for their service. They deserve that. They have earned that. They have literally earned that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your service, and may you all return home safely to your families when your tours of duty end. God bless you all. Folks, we have a lot to talk about. Usually one of the reasons I play the national anthem and do the Pledge of Allegiance is to give time for everybody to get here. But today, people have been rather slow on getting here. And I understand it's only 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 3:30 p.m. afternoon in the Pacific Time Zone. I understand that. Okay? We get it. But I wanted to come on the air today, and I wanted to come on the air even as early as 6 p.m. I was trying to get in here, but there were issues. Anyway, I want to thank Starbright Pam for being in here from the very beginning. Storm Rider's here. Diana Large is here. She's one of our mods. We have Demon Catman. Demon Catman from the eastward part of England. Thank you so much for being here. We have Blackbird here. Thank you all for being here, guys. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate our mods. I thank all of our mods and all of you every night for being here with us. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your love. Joseph Vallo is here as well. Thank you so much. Folks, before we get going yet tonight, please give us a thumbs up. Please, folks, stick around for our entire program as much as you possibly can. So far, this past month and a half that we've been on this particular channel here, since I got removed by a stupid hacker on our other channel, we've been on the air 4 years. 4 years, April 3rd. Go figure. We've learned a lot. We've actually learned a lot. One of the things I appreciate by all of you, you stuck around and stick around through most of the program. Our average broadcast viewership is almost 30 minutes. That's awesome. On the other channel, it was less than 20. Now, guys, it's important. Why do I even mention this? Because the YouTube algorithms are such that they look at the viewership. They look at the number of subscribers. They look at the viewership, how many people watch the program. They look at the average time element that people watch. So I encourage everybody to stay for the entire program or as much of it as you possibly can. Why? Because if you don't stick with it, you're not going to get much out of it. Okay? Our entire program is chock full of emergency information, and we try to give that to you every day. If you don't watch the program through its entirety, you're going to miss information, and that information might cost you your life. Okay? I'm not patting myself on the back or anywhere else. It's a fact. Our information that we give you every day is very important. It's emergency information that might save your lives. That's why we're here. That's the biggest reason I first went on the air over 4 years ago. To talk about earthquakes, to talk about other emergency and disaster situations. That's what we've done. We've talked about explosions, oil refinery explosions. We've talked about other kinds of explosions. We've talked about active shooters. We've talked about hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, fires, cyclones, literally all over the world. High winds, winter, spring, summer temperatures, and other weather-related events. Why? Because people get killed or put themselves in situations where they can get injured or killed. We would rather try to save people's lives. Now, something that happened this morning, okay? Like I've said before, you can't make this stuff up, okay? Actually, that's not it. I'm sorry, let me go bring up another slide here. Something happened this morning, and it's almost comical if it weren't so serious. It's almost comical if it wasn't so serious. Televisions and telephones. This morning at approximately 4:45 this morning in Florida, Eastern Time. Guess what happened? Alarms went off. The emergency alert system went off in Florida. Literally all over Florida. It's incredible. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. The Florida Division of Emergency Management apologized after emergency alert test triggers loud alarm on televisions and people's phone at 4:45 a.m. this morning. Crazy, huh? Floridians with smartphones received an alert that read test. Test. This is only a test. I'm sorry, let me enlarge this slide for you so you can see it. Okay? This is what they saw on their phones and what they saw on their televisions. This is a nationwide test of the emergency alert system. There is no actual emergency. Okay? That's what people heard. You can't make it up. It's incredible. It really is incredible. I had something set up for you so you could hear this. I don't know what happened to it. Well, that's weird. Here it is. This is what people heard on their phones and televisions this morning.
This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is only a test. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. The broadcasters of your area, in voluntary cooperation with federal, state, and local authorities, have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. If this had been an actual emergency, the attention signal you just heard would have been followed by official information, news, or instruction. This station serves the...
This particular alert system went out to Florida, okay? This system went out to all of Florida. Some systems are notified by state and local areas, Seattle, Portland, St. Louis, Missouri, Oklahoma City. This happens. It happens literally around the country. But guess what? Florida got woken up. And there's a lot of people in Florida that are hot under the collar about it. They don't like to be woken up. Nobody does. Okay? This is a test of the emergency alert system. No action is required. The alert was accompanied by that loud alarm tone that's usually used for amber alerts, hurricanes, earthquakes, whatever it be. Naturally, many red-eyed Florida residents were left wondering why the government would send out a loud test alert so early in the morning. We know a 4:45 a.m. wake-up call isn't ideal. The Florida Division of Emergency Management said on a Twitter post, their FLSERT wants to apologize for the early morning text. Each month we test the emergency alerts on a variety of platforms. This alert was supposed to be only on television and not supposed to disturb anyone sleeping. We are taking the appropriate action to ensure this will never happen again and that only true emergencies are sent out as alerts in the middle of the night. A spokesman for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the party responsible for the early morning emergency alert would be held responsible. The Florida Association of Broadcasters posts the 2023 emergency alert system scheduled on its website. According to the schedule, there is a test scheduled for 4:50 a.m. every other month. One cranky state lawmaker, a lawmaker besides DeSantis, one cranky state lawmaker vowed to file legislation to stop overnight emergency alert tests after Floridians were awoken before 5 a.m. today. Republican State Senator Blaze Ingoglia said his bill will be called the Stop Woke Act. The Stop Woke Act. Isn't that interesting? We think people that are woke are people that don't like the agitation, the Antifa type antics. But he's going to call it the Stop Woke Act. He said, I'm filing a bill next session to stop these tests from occurring between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. every day. I'm 100% serious. Ingoglia tweeted, I'm going to call it the Stop Wake Act. Not just Woke Act. He's going to call it the Stop Wake Act. I'm going to call it the Stop Wake Act. I need House sponsorship. This morning's 4:45 a.m. SERT test alert was not appropriate and not done at our direction. The party responsible will be held accountable and appropriately discharged, according to a DeSantis spokesman. They're going to be discharged, fired over this. Why didn't they fire the person that did it in Hawaii a couple years ago? Those of you might remember this happening in Hawaii because someone poked a button that said something incoming from another country was going to strike Hawaii early in the morning. I think it was like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Woke everybody up, set off air raid sirens all over the islands, and yet it was a mistake. Nobody got fired there. Now, this same system, the Emergency Alert System, EAS for short, is a national public warning system commonly used by state and local authorities to deliver important emergency messages such as weather and amber alerts and other emergency warnings. Okay? It's supposed to affect communities to make sure communities all over this country are alerted. And I know there are other such alert systems in other countries, and that's one of the reasons we're talking about this right now. Okay? Android and iPhone smartphones have the ability to turn the government alerts off. But some users have done so and turned it off. Okay? They've turned it off. They're not going to wait another instant. What if something does happen? What if something happens and they don't have the emergency alert system? That means someone is going to get hurt, and someone is going to get hurt on a grand scale. I'm not turning mine off. I'm about to find mine right here and show you what it's like. Okay? If you go onto your Android or your smartphone, you want to go into settings, and you can turn this on yourself. You want to go into settings, and then oh gosh, where did it go? Now I can't get into it. This is weird. I can't even find it. Isn't this interesting? Anyway, guys, there is a specific place in your settings, and you can go and turn on the emergency alert system in your area, and it'll turn on your phone. It'll make sure your phone broadcasts that alert no matter what time it is. I know I have mine turned on. I just can't find it right now, which is stupid. And this is really weird. I don't know why this has done this. Oh, this is crazy. Before I came on the air, I thought I had this, and then all of a sudden my phone goes blank. But anyway, you can go onto your phones into the settings area, okay? Then you can turn it on or you can turn it off. Linda Covington is in the chat right now saying, I'm debating about turning EAS off. I don't want to do that. And I'm advising all of you that live along the west coast of North America, Canada and the United States, including Alaska, turn your EAS on. We've been talking about this for quite some time now. There's going to be a major earthquake, and we're going to talk about this tonight. There's still earthquakes all over California and literally all over Oregon, Washington, and Canada. They're still happening. They're not major. Some of them are small 3.0 and above. Some of them are minor 2.0 and 2 to 2.9. And some of them are even tremors 1.0 to 1.9 and microquakes. But there's been a distinct increase in these earthquakes and these tremors. Okay? I don't want anyone to turn it off right now. At least getting us through what we're seeing happen. What we know that's happening. I want to make sure that people are notified and at least get some kind of heads up, even if it's only a few seconds notice. Linda Covington says, pros and cons. This is one of my biggest things, okay? I think of it if my grandkids were kidnapped. Would you want other people to be notified if your own children or grandkids were kidnapped, so someone else is keeping an eye out for them as well? When they issue an Amber Alert, usually it's with a person's name, not the kid. They don't list kids, juveniles' names on it, but they do list an adult's name on it if there's an adult involved. But they also list license plates and makes and models of cars. I want everybody to get notified if one of my own children or grandchildren is kidnapped. I think it's important. Okay? And it's not just that. Let me show you something else, guys. If emergency managers need to deliver an important safety message, if emergency managers need to deliver an important safety message to you quickly, we have a number of tools in order to do that. We have a number of tools in our own toolbox that allow us to put out emergency messages to all of you in the quickest fashion possible. Okay? The following are a few of the methods that may be used to communicate with you. Okay? Number one, we have the EAS Weather Service radio frequencies that emergency managers like myself can send out emergency information, as well as general hazard definitions used by the Weather Service during a weather or hydrologic emergency, meaning floods and rains. Okay? This is why it's very important. This is why it's very important. Emergency managers like myself can give you emergency messages. Yes, there's emergency messages just like I put out to you a few minutes ago. Hold on a second. Oh gosh. Now after that, it's not allowing me to do this. Okay? Let me go back out and go back in. Isn't that wild? I show you one thing and all of a sudden they shut it down. Okay? We can put out messages just like I showed you here. Okay? Well, this is not an actual emergency. It's just a test of the system. Okay? We can also put out a message like this. The National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning for the following counties or areas. This in particular was a warning that was sent out in January. Okay? Jackson, Missouri. Okay? Johnson, Kansas. Okay? The Weather Service can issue these warnings as well. Okay? It can happen. Okay? This is another one. Know your alerts. Know your alerts and warnings. Know what's going on in your area. I think this is very important. I think it's very, very important that you know what's going on in your area. Okay? We can issue an area-wide warning, just like this. An EAS Emergency Alert System warning for a variety of issues. We can issue a storm watch for heavy winter storm and snow. A high wind warning can be issued. An amber alert warning can be issued. Police departments have that ability. Tornado warnings like this. Tsunami warnings like this. The National Weather Service has issued a tsunami warning for the following counties and areas. This one is in the Virgin Islands of the United States at 9:03 a.m. March 23rd, 2011, effective until 9:18 a.m. Okay? That happens. That happens. That's another issue that we need to talk about. We've talked about this for a very long time. What can happen if and when, I can't even say if, what happens when the Cascadia megathrust earthquake hits? Hopefully, those of you that have the earthquake early warning system on your phones will get a notification at least a few seconds before the earthquake starts. So you can at least get a little heads up and do what you have to do. I know I don't want to get blindsided anymore. The earthquake alert system has not come of age where it gives us much time. Okay? It doesn't give us much time, but at least it's an alert. And after that major earthquake happens, a tsunami is going to come after that. We've talked about this before. Earlier today, we issued a warning. In this case, it was an advisory. It was an advisory for a possible earthquake. Okay? I'm going to play this message for you. Okay? This came from Fox 13 in Utah. We played along with this today. We issued an advisory of a possible earthquake and what you should do. This video right here talks about it.
When we talk about emergency preparedness, it's often easy to put it off because we think it's never going to happen to us. Well, we're in downtown Magna today because this area hit so hard by the 2020 quake proves that a tremor can strike Utah at any time.
That Magna quake was a reminder that we do live in earthquake country.
The images of March 18th, 2020 are etched in the memories of all of us who felt that shake. They also serve as a reminder that we aren't immune from another quake, possibly one more powerful.
We have a close to a 50% chance of a 6.5 to 7.5 magnitude quake happening on the Wasatch Fault within the next 50 years. That, for some of us, that's still in our lifetime.
That's why Wade Matthews of the Utah Division of Emergency Management is encouraging all Utahns to take part in the Great Shakeout. Practice run to be prepared for a worst-case scenario.
The most important thing as far as preparedness for any type of hazard is knowing the protective action, first of all. How to be a survivor. If we don't survive that threat, the rest of our plans don't really matter.
When the ground starts to shake and you have a desk or something sturdy nearby,
I'm going to drop, cover, and hold on, which means drop to the floor, get cover over my head, and hold on to the legs until the shaking stops. Because that's going to be violently shaking in an earthquake, bouncing all over, and I want to keep that cover over my head.
So Wade, we're in an area without any tables, no coverings for our heads. What do we do?
All right, I'm gonna look around, make sure there's no glass on this wall. I'm gonna kneel down up against the wall and cover my head and neck with my arms and hands and just lean against the wall.
The key is to protect your body from anything that may fall. In most cases, buildings will withstand the shaking, but injuries will be caused by falling debris. The shakeout is also a reminder to have a plan for what to do after the quake, including stocking up on food and water and having a first aid kit, plus coordinating your family's emergency contacts.
Okay? Look what they're doing here in Utah. Okay? They do this every April 20th in Utah. They call a party. They have their drill. They have their great shakeout drill. Then they go outside all over Utah in the parks or out in the schoolyards, and they brief parents, students, and anybody else on what they need to do before an earthquake and after an earthquake hits. They have a party. There are food trucks, people cook food and cookies and everything. There are neighborhood parties all over Utah to help people prepare for earthquakes there in Utah. Again, this is not the only great shakeout that we're going to do. We're going to do, in October, we're going to do another shakeout drill. A lot of countries and states do shakeout drills, and they do them at least twice a year. Why are we going to do this in October this year? Like we have told you, we want you to write an emergency preparedness plan for you and your family. And once you have written the entire plan, we want you to conduct drills with your family twice a year so that everyone is acquainted with your emergency plan, number one, and number two, you know where you're going to go when an emergency happens. You conduct a drill so everybody in your family knows what to do and where to go during an emergency, to get back together after an emergency has happened if you're separated. Put that into your plan. Put that into your plan. It's okay to conduct these drills. If you decide you want to do a drill like this with your neighbors and have a party and talk, go outside and have cookies and meals or something like that, do it. Have a neighborhood block party and talk about emergency preparedness. This is a perfect time. It's not cold. The temperatures are rising. Usually there's no snow on the ground. Now's a perfect time to get your neighbors out of their houses and your businesses, and even businesses to conduct disaster drills with your businesses. If anybody is a business owner and wants to have more information about this, call me. Let's talk. I've written emergency preparedness plans for at least 100 businesses, maybe more, throughout my career. And I'll be happy to help you write another preparedness plan for your own business.
All things to be ready for a day we hope never happens.
So it's 50-50, it's the flip of a coin, but if it does happen, we want to be ready.
Thousands of Utah kids will take part in these drills at school, but it's also a good idea to have a plan so you know what to do when you're at home. Now, you can register for the Shakeout online. It's free, and the goal is to have 1 million people across the state take part. In Magna, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Okay, that was Fox 13 Utah. Folks, I'm asking you to do it where you live. It doesn't have to be in Utah. It could be Washington, Oregon, California. It could be in Fargo, North Dakota. It could be St. Louis, Missouri. It could be Oklahoma City. It could be down in New Orleans, Louisiana, Bossier, Louisiana. It could be in Alabama, Birmingham. It could be in Georgia. It could be in North Carolina, Florida, wherever. Have an earthquake drill. Throw a neighborhood party and get everyone involved. Talk about emergency preparedness, and you can even share this channel. Please do that. Our entire motto here at Emergency Management Associates is to get people prepared. That's what we do, and that's what we do best. Okay? Now, there's some other things that I want to talk about. Okay, this is a video that I shared earlier on this same channel talking about that great shakeout drill.
This is the Great Shakeout, one of the largest earthquake drills ever. Practice now so you can protect yourself during a real earthquake. This is an earthquake drill. Right now, drop, cover, and hold on. Drop to the floor now. During a large earthquake, the ground might jerk strongly and knock you down. Take cover under something sturdy to protect yourself from objects that can be thrown across a room. Hold on to your shelter until the shaking stops. If you can't get under something, stay low and protect your head and neck with your arms. Now look around. What objects might fall or be thrown at you that you should secure in place before a real earthquake? Finally, a strong earthquake may cause a tsunami. If you're near the ocean during an earthquake, drop cover and hold on. Then quickly walk to high ground after the shaking stops. This drill is over. Visit Shakeout.org for simple steps to help you survive and recover from a major earthquake. Thank you for taking part in the Great Shakeout.
Okay, that's what we put out just after 12 noon today. Please, folks, please use this to your best effect. We're trying to save lives here. We're trying to save lives. I've done this last year, and I think I've done it for the past 3 years. Again, we've been on the air 4 years now. We're going to continue this. This is not over. Now, before this evening's over, we're going to talk about earthquakes along the west coast of the United States. First, I want to talk about something else. Okay? We've talked about politics on this channel before. We're going to talk about politics again. Okay? I'm trying to save some lives here. And this is important. It's important for all of us. It's literally important for each and every one of us here.
So in 2013, it was legalized in the United States to propagandize its citizens. What? Like, that's some scary third world stuff going on. That's the kind of stuff that people use to topple governments, to take away freedoms.
Yes, you heard that right. Almost a decade ago, propaganda was legalized in the United States with the passage of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which you've probably never heard of. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was buried in the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act for a good reason, because it repealed the 1948 Smith-Mundt Act, which authorized the State Department and the mainstream media to engage in propagandizing foreign countries, but it prohibited releasing that same propaganda in America for public consumption. This prohibition was lifted when the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was signed into law by Obama.
Very simply, Obama gave it a reboot in 2012. So, no matter how outrageous the propaganda may be, it's completely legal.
Propaganda, in other words, a false narrative, for whatever specific purpose, is now much easier to perpetrate on the people.
Due to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which went into effect on July the 2nd of 2013, scripted and orchestrated propaganda can now be presented to the American public as factual news.
Okay? Propaganda can be put out as factual news. We've seen it all over the internet. We've seen it on Facebook. We've seen it here on YouTube. When I spoke about anything involving politics, trying to put up a warning or an advisory for everybody here on my channel, YouTube censored me and took me off the air. Once for a day, and after that it was a week to 2 weeks to a month more. And they told me the last time that they would take me off the air permanently if I ever did what I did then. I'm trying to be careful now. I'm trying to give you guys information to try to save your lives and the lives of your family. Propaganda is being launched out against all of us. On YouTube, one of my friends that will remain nameless right now got taken off of Facebook several times in the past 3 weeks. And again last night was taken off Facebook again without any notice. She can't post anything, she can't comment about anything, and she can't send anything to anybody. Other people have also been cut off on Messenger as well. One of our own dear friends, Jules, who's been a follower of Emergency Management Associates for a long time, has himself been cut off. Why do they do that? They do it to prevent people from sharing information. They do it on Facebook, they do it on YouTube, they do it on TikTok, and anywhere else. The only place that has not taken me down, actually 2 different places. One is Parler, which is the conservative form of Twitter, and the other is MeWe. For a time until about a week and a half ago, Twitter also took me down. And then Elon Musk and his people started reactivating people that had been taken down on Twitter. My Twitter account has now been restored. A hacker took down my email account and my emergency management account on YouTube a month and a half ago. Someone hacked into my other personal email and took it down about a week and a half ago. Yesterday I got it back up. What I'm advising everybody to do, and I know it's a hassle, I hate it as well, make sure you change your passwords frequently and make sure you write them down. And I know that's not a thing that everyone advises you to do. If you don't write it down and then you try to log into that account later, whatever account it might be, and you can't get in, you may get locked out permanently. Change your passwords, and when you do, write those passwords down and keep those passwords in a safe place. That's what I have. I've got a notebook full of my passwords, and it's locked away when I'm not using it. And then I get it out, look up my passwords, make sure I'm into where I need to go, and then I'm fine. To get me into my latest email account that got hacked, I had to pay my email provider $25 to restore my email account. Why did I do that? When the last Gmail account, my Emergency Management Associates Gmail account, got hacked, and I can't get back into that, and Google wasn't willing to help me, I had to open up another account. I changed, and businesses and people that I did business with, I changed that all over to another account. Well, guess what? That one got hacked. But fortunately, I was able to pay somebody at that service money to get it opened up again. I'm advising all of you to make sure your accounts stay open and do your darndest to make sure you can get into your accounts. Okay? Do whatever you have to do. Politicians are going to make it increasingly harder to get information to us because they're wanting to stifle the information from flowing. We've seen it happen at the government agencies. They continue to make it almost impossible to get truth from their agencies. USGS, for example. Be careful. That's one reason why we are here today, to make sure that we can give you information that you need to know that the government refuses to talk to you about. Okay? That's why we're here. Okay? Now, there's something else that I want to talk to you about tonight. Starbite Pam says YouTube blocked me from commenting except on live feed. No reasons why. That's exactly what they do. Okay? They stop you from commenting on yours or anybody else's feeds. Okay? Except in live. Sometimes they won't even let you do that. Okay? Been there, done that. Been there, done that. I'm going to now talk to all of you about earthquakes. Okay? We continue to talk about it, and there's a darn good reason why. There's a very good reason why. And I already see that USGS has knocked me off the platform. Well, guess what? I found a way around it, and I'm exercising that knowledge now. Okay? I want to show you earthquakes. And bingo, my USGS account is back here. And we're going to come back to California, Oregon, and Washington in just a few minutes. But we've had some decent sized earthquakes that I want to talk to you about. Okay? This one right here. This is off the coast of Ecuador here. Off the coast of Ecuador, and USGS says it's off the coast of Central America. Oh yeah, it's hundreds of miles south of Panama. This is on the southeast ridge of the Pacific. Okay, right here. This is a 5.4 earthquake out in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean. It didn't harm anybody. It didn't affect anybody on any kind of landmass. It was out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean here. Not necessarily in the middle, but far enough away from any shore where it didn't do anything. But USGS is not telling you the entire truth here either. Because right next to it there was a aftershock, a 4.5 aftershock. Okay? Both of these earthquakes were very shell earthquakes. Okay? What you're also not seeing is any earthquakes in Central America, and no earthquakes except for this one here in southern Mexico. This is another, actually this isn't southern Mexico, this is Guatemala, I'm sorry. This is another large earthquake, a 4.9, 5.0 earthquake. Again, the 0.9 Society is alive and well with USGS. If there's a large earthquake, they'll deny it, and they'll downgrade it to a 0.9, whatever it is. This was downgraded to a moderate 4.9 from a 5.2. Okay, let's show you where this earthquake occurred. Right off of shore from Guatemala. This was 32 kilometers, 28 miles southwest of Gomera, Guatemala. Yes, this was in the Pacific Ocean here. It was close enough to shore, though, to rattle some nerves. People felt this probably as a small or mid-range 3.5. 3.0 to 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. Why wasn't it a large earthquake on shore? Because, folks, the waters, the ocean waters, absorb seismic energy. Okay? So yes, a few people felt this earthquake on shore in Guatemala. Okay? Let's go south. Again, you don't see any earthquakes at all here except for that one in Guatemala. Okay? That happened at 11 a.m. this morning. There are 15 earthquakes here in Central America. Some of them 3s, the rest of them all 4s, 4.0 to 4.7 here in Central America. Over here in southern Mexico, USGS doesn't show us anything. Be advised, there's 36 earthquakes here along shore and out to sea here in southern Mexico. Some of them are southeast of Mexico City, but most of them are along the shoreline area, on land. 3.5, 3.7, 3.8, 3.4. The rest of them are 4.0 to 4.6, moderate earthquakes. Seismicity is building here again. We just got through having a very, well, I can't say very, but a good size 5.3, I believe it was, earthquake here in Oaxaca, Mexico last week. That's a significant large earthquake. 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes can hurt, kill, and destroy towns, especially in this area. Okay? But let's go further south. Look what they show us here in South America. 3 earthquakes. This one up north here, a 4.4. Fairly shallow quake, 93 kilometers deep. 4.4 moderate earthquake. Further south, this is in Vallenar, Chile. Vallenar, Chile, near Iquique, Chile, where we've had 5.5s, 5.7 earthquakes, and in fact, during the past 7 to 8 years, we had an 8.0 earthquake in this same location. Okay? This is a 4.0. This is a 4.3. This is near Uvalde, Chile, 42 kilometers deep. Now this is all fine and good. They're showing us 3 earthquakes. Guess what, folks? There's 36 earthquakes all throughout South America. 4 earthquakes, actually 6 earthquakes up here in Colombia. Excuse me. 6 earthquakes here in Colombia, near Santander, Colombia, up here in northern Colombia. Over here in Peru, near Arequipa, Peru, there is a 4.7 earthquake here that they didn't tell us about. Why are they not telling us about these upper magnitude earthquakes? No, it's not large, but it's moderate quake. It affected people's lives in Peru. Could be U.S. citizens as well in Arequipa, Peru. Let me tell you something else. They're telling us about 3 earthquakes here in Chile. Guess what, folks? There are 36 earthquakes here in Chile, Peru, and Colombia. 36 earthquakes. They tell us about 3. That's criminal. That's criminal. Okay? I want to take you over here to Europe real quick. Look at Europe. Look up here at Europe. I have real issues with this. Huge issues. Earlier today, they showed a 4.5 earthquake here in eastern Turkey. A 4.5. It's very interesting. You don't see it now, do you? There's over 110 earthquakes here in Turkey and Syria today. Over 110 earthquakes just in this area. And they don't tell us about any of them. There's another 25 earthquakes countrywide here in Turkey. Isn't it interesting? Over here in Greece, there's 24 earthquakes. There's 4 earthquakes here in Crete. There's a half a dozen earthquakes over here in the Dokanese Islands to the west side of Ecuador. The Dokanese Islands belong to Greece. Some of these range in size from 2.6 to 4.5. USGS doesn't say a word. Let's go over here to Italy. There are 26 earthquakes here in Italy from north to south. Down here in Sicily and the boot part of Italy, down here in the shoe part of Italy, there's about a half dozen earthquakes. Up here is where the majority of earthquakes hit, here in central Italy. Some earthquakes hit up here in the northern Alps here in Italy, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, and even France over here. Yes, there's earthquakes in France and the Netherlands today. Go figure. Over here in Spain, we have earthquakes. Over here, just east of the Strait of Gibraltar, we have 5 earthquakes today. We have a small number of earthquakes down here in the Canary Islands. Interesting, huh? Over here in Iceland, guess what? 12 earthquakes here in Iceland. Over here in Britain, in the Virgin Isles, the British Isles here, we don't have any reported earthquakes, but I'm sure the seismological network here in Britain would show some tremors here in Britain. Let's go take a look at Scandinavia today. 2 earthquakes down here in southern Norway. 2 small tremors down here in southern Norway. Then over here in central Norway, near the Swedish border, near a town called Trondheim, we have 2 more 1.5 and 1.7 tremors here. Trondheim, Norway, on the border of Sweden. Then, folks, guess what? One of my favorite towns that I used to live in, right about here, okay? Right about here, Örebro, Sweden. Örebro, Sweden. O-R-E-B-R-O. Örebro, Sweden. It's where they make crystal. Some of the finest crystal comes out of Örebro, Sweden. Okay? Guess what? 1.5s, 1.7s, and a 2.7 minor earthquake here in Örebro, Sweden today. Okay? Northern Sweden was some minor earthquake activity here. Over here in Finland, 2.5s and 2.7s here in Finland. Over here in Russia, Belarus area, we had some 2.5s and 2.7 activity here. And Croatia as well. Isn't that interesting? Croatia as well. And Ukraine. Isn't that interesting? Okay? So already I have told you about earthquakes in Europe. We've even had some earthquakes here in Africa that they aren't talking about. Let's go over here to Puerto Rico. I've told you about earthquakes over here in the Caribbean here. Okay, right here between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, this is called the Mona Passage. The Mona Passage. Again, USGS misidentifies where this earthquake is. They say it's 65 kilometers southeast of Boca de Yuma, Dominican Republic. Guess what, folks? It's in the Mona Passage. It's a 3.6 small earthquake in the Mona Passage. Nobody felt it. Nobody felt it. There's even a small island in this area, unoccupied, uninhabitable. Okay? Up here north of the Mona Passage, This is northwest of San Antonio, Puerto Rico. This is the same location where 2 years ago we had a 6.3 earthquake. On the same night where Hurricane Maria hit the southern shores of Puerto Rico, a hurricane category 4 storm. A 6.3 earthquake hit up here northeast or northwest of San Antonio, Puerto Rico. Today, we're only showing a handful of earthquakes down here in southwestern Puerto Rico. I've highlighted one of them. It's a 2.7 earthquake. South of there, this is a 2.9 near Guanica, Puerto Rico. This earthquake here is also southwest of Guanica, Puerto Rico. It's a 2.8. This is the same location where we've talked about earthquakes happening in the past. Every earthquake in this area are aftershocks of a very much larger earthquake. Actually, 2 earthquakes, an 8.0 and an 8.4, just less than 4 years ago. Just less than 4 years ago. We reported on it. An 8.0 and 8.4 earthquake. The 8.0 hit on December 26th, 4 years ago. Nearly 4 years ago. The 8.4 hit again in the same area 2 days later on December 28th, right after Christmas. It destroyed a natural sandstone arch here. Let's see, right here. There was a natural sandstone arch right over here. A sandstone arch like you'd see in Arches National Park, Utah. It was a tourist attraction. These earthquakes, actually the second earthquake, destroyed it, brought it down, brought it completely down. Why? Why? I'm going to tell you why. Okay? I want to tell you why. This organization right here, and I talked about this a couple days ago. I've talked about it quite frequently throughout the years. This organization here lit up their facility in Norway. They lit up a facility in Russia. And they lit up a facility in Northwest Australia. They triangulated Puerto Rico and opened up their facility on Puerto Rico, causing 2 major earthquakes, 8.0 and an 8.4 earthquake. It killed people. Yes, folks, it actually killed people. It left people homeless. It hurt people, injured people. It destroyed buildings. It destroyed homes. It destroyed businesses. And it destroyed that natural landmark. And nothing's been done about those facilities and that organization. They did it on purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing. We found out about it. We investigated and we told you about it after it happened. Major earthquakes hitting Puerto Rico. These earthquakes that are still hitting here are aftershocks of those earthquakes. There's one other earthquake here that's not an aftershock. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake. 2 miles, 4 kilometers west of Maracaibo, Puerto Rico. Maracaibo, Puerto Rico. Okay? It appears that Maracaibo, Puerto Rico is right here. This small town of Maracaibo, Puerto Rico right here. Why am I showing you this? I want you to become familiar with these areas. People live there. People live there. People work there. People get killed there. People get injured. That's why I want to bring this home. Okay? Yeah, I want to put pressure on that organization. Please do not put that name in chat. Mods, if you see that, remove it immediately. YouTube doesn't like that to be put out. And those organizations don't like it either. I don't want to be taken off the air after telling about it. But it's true. These organizations don't give a flying rat's butt who they hurt. It's very apparent what's happening. Now, over here in Indonesia, they're showing 2 earthquakes. Why? Why are they just showing 2 earthquakes? There's almost 24 earthquakes here. Almost 24 earthquakes here in Indonesia. This one just south of Sumatra is a moderate 4.5, 23 kilometers deep. This one here is over in northern Indonesia. It's a moderate 4.7. The upper range of moderate earthquakes. None of these earthquakes are near land. They're not strong enough to really hurt anything. If they hit land, all that would happen would be knickknacks, probably knocked off shelves, bookcases, books teetering and maybe falling off bookcases, pictures falling off the walls. That's all that would happen here. Now, over here in Japan, I get pissed about this. There were 3 earthquakes here earlier. This one is a 4.7 off the southeast coast of Kyushu down here. There was an earthquake right here over in Kyoto, Japan. A 4.7 earthquake here. 87 people felt it. There was another earthquake right here. This is a huge city here in Japan. A lot of people felt it. I haven't gotten any reports of damages yet, but a lot of people felt it. We've had 5.0s and 5.5 earthquakes here before. But why are they not showing these earthquakes now? They don't want anybody to know about it. Up here in the Aleutian Islands, we told you that we've had some very large earthquakes hitting over in Kamchatka Peninsula, over in Japan, in the Kuril Islands south of Kamchatka, even upwards of 6.5 earthquakes. That energy is traveling through the Aleutian Islands. This earthquake here is a 4.0. Yesterday we had a couple 5s here in the Aleutian Island chain, not near any land masses. Okay, but this 4.0 is an example of a good-sized earthquake, a moderate 4.0. This is a shallow earthquake, 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers. And you can see these other earthquakes in Alaska, about 60 earthquakes in Alaska today. Nothing major. Over here near Adak, another 3.6. Let's go south, very south here, okay? Over here, this is near Pangai, Tonga. This is a large earthquake. USGS called it a 4.9. It came out as a 5.3. They downgraded to a 4.9. Go figure. That's what they do best. So nobody later in history will ever find out that there was a large earthquake here. And the citizens don't realize it was a large earthquake either. Yes, it was 59, 60 kilometers west of Pangai Tonga in the ocean, and for the most part, the seismic energy was absorbed by the ocean waters here. Fine. Over here is a 4.2 near Levuka, Fiji today. A moderate earthquake. This one was a deep quake, 587 kilometers deep. 587 kilometers deep. This is going to result in a shallower, stronger quake to the tune of a 5.2, 5.3 earthquake resulting from this moderate, deep earthquake today. A 4.2, Levuka, Fiji. This is a 4.8 in the Samoan Islands. A 4.8 minor, moderate quake. Actually, it's really not a minor, moderate quake. This is an upper ranges of the moderate earthquakes. A 4.8. But this was rather shallow as well. 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles. Now, folks, the USGS is saying that there was one earthquake here on the South Island of New Zealand. There was like 8 earthquakes here on the South Island of New Zealand today. This is another moderate 4.8, which is the upper range of 4.8 moderate quakes. Guess where it was at? Christchurch, just off the coast of Christchurch, New Zealand. This is a 4.0. This is a 3.3. Off the coast of Christchurch, New Zealand. What they're not showing you is there was a 4.02 here as well. There were 3 earthquakes here off the coast of Christchurch, New Zealand. Okay? 10 years ago, there was a major earthquake that hit Christchurch, destroying most of the downtown area and the outskirts of Christchurch. As you can see, this is a very large city here on the southern island of New Zealand. Look how far it stretches out. Quite a distance, doesn't it? All over this area. Yet USGS is showing 2 earthquakes when there was 8 earthquakes here on the South Island of New Zealand today. They're showing 2. There was one island down, or not one island, one earthquake down here in the South Park area of New Zealand. This is the National Park area of New Zealand, South Park. This was a 4.8 earthquake here. Going further north, there were 3 earthquakes up here as well, and another one offshore here, and another one over here in the Cook Inlet. I'm sorry, not the Cook Inlet. The Cook Inlet's up in Alaska. This is the Cook Strait. I think this in the Cook Strait was a 4.2. There were several other earthquakes here on the North Island. Okay? Now, why am I concerned about the North Island of New Zealand? Can anybody tell me why I'm concerned about these earthquakes here? Because right here, this is Taupo Volcano. This is Taupo Lake in New Zealand. This happens to be a super volcano, just like Long Valley or Yellowstone, a super volcano. It's kicking. The volcano is kicking today. There are earthquakes and tremors all over it. There were 2 small earthquakes just northwest of Topo Volcano today, related to this volcano. Okay? There were several other earthquakes here in New Zealand. A couple earthquakes over here in what we call the Catcher's Mitt, the Bay of Plenty. We fondly call it a catcher's mitt because that's what it looks like, a catcher's mitt. Okay? These were also minor earthquakes. Off the coast of Gisborne, New Zealand, we had another 4.7 earthquake here. We've had 6.0s here, 6.2s here. There's actually a very small tsunami here from last time we had a 6 here. But the place is getting hit. New Zealand's getting hit. And yet they show 2 earthquakes on the South Island when there's 8. They don't show any earthquakes at all on the North Island, and yet we have earthquakes all over the North Island, and 2 of them near the supervolcano, related to the supervolcano. Isn't this interesting? They don't much care about anyone. Okay? Going over here into Hawaii. Why are we even talking about Hawaii? Why? Because 2 volcanoes got hit today. Look at these earthquakes over in Pahala. This good-sized swarm of earthquakes over here in the Pahala area, including offshore from Pahala. Why is this important? Offshore, we have what we call undersea mounts, undersea volcanoes in this area. 2 or 3 of them at least. Over here on land, Pahala, we actually see 2 earthquakes that just happened. This one is a 1.8. This one is a 1.9, 2.0. Why is this concerning? Because all of these earthquakes are as a result of magma coming in from the deep plume in the South Pacific. Yes, there's a deep plume in the South Pacific with magma, and it's supplying all the magma to all the volcanoes around the world. Even here in Hawaii. Pahala is like a gas station for that magma. There's underground chambers from Pahala reaching these other volcanoes, including over here. Over here. This is Mauna Loa volcano. Mauna Loa volcano. This erupted just a few months ago. This is a 2.2 magnitude earthquake. But it's not the only earthquake here. But USGS does not want to talk about it, do they? There's also 2 other volcanoes up here. This is Mauna Kea, and over here to the west is Hualalai. Hualalai. They don't show anything here, do they? There are. Over here at Kilauea, we're showing a good-sized swarm of earthquakes over to the west and the east and at the volcano itself. This is Kilauea volcano at oh gosh, what's that crater called? Halemaumau crater. Halemaumau crater at Kilauea. This is a 2.0 earthquake. Kilauea is waking up again. It has been erupting. Okay? It has been erupting. There are earthquakes over here in Fern Forest, south and east of Kilauea. This is a 1.8 tremor. Remember what happened here at Kilauea? Kilauea and another volcano, Pu'u'o'o, had all their magma drain out and go someplace else. All that magma went over here to the south and to the east. Okay? Several different areas got hit. Fern Forest got hit, and that's where this other earthquake is here, is in Fern Forest. There were 24 different fissures that opened up here, from Fern Forest to northeast Leilani Estates. Some of those fissures that opened up turned into craters and cones, volcanic cones. Some of these fissures are now known named volcanoes. The Hawaiian people named those volcanoes. Okay? Okay? This is what happened. It's going to happen again. Now, I told you we'd talk about earthquakes. Okay? Over here, this is Velma, Oklahoma, a 2.1 earthquake here. North of there, this is Mino, Oklahoma. I've been through Mino, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake here. We've had earthquakes up and down the New Madrid Fault, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Alabama. Some of you might not know, but USGS has got a helicopter up going back and forth and around out northern Alabama. Why? Because they've had some earthquakes and tremors here. They have not reported them. I have. Whenever I see them in Alabama, I report them. Why do we get earthquakes here? Because of the New Madrid Fault. And that's not the only reason. The Atlantic Fault here, where the Atlantic Ocean is, the Atlantic Fault is spreading west and east, causing a lot of earthquakes over here along the United States and Canadian East Coast. We reported on those as well. Because of that pressure, we're getting earthquakes over here in Pennsylvania, Virginia and West Virginia, North and South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, putting pressure on the New Madrid. That's why. Over here in southwestern Texas, we've had earthquakes here for 3 years. This is oil and gas quakes. This one is a 3.4 over here in Toyah, Texas. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what is actually going on. See these oil and gas plots all over here? They have pumps and jacks on every one of these plots here. Pumps and jacks pumping gas and oil out of the ground. This is a 3.4 near Toyah, Texas. And further southwest of there, more earthquakes. This one's a 2.4 near Mentone. This is a 2.2. This is a 1.9. They say this is White City, Mexico. Sorry, this is Texas. This is a 1.9 here, and here is a 2.3. It's not White City, Texas. I mean White City, New Mexico. This is Texas. And again, these are oil and gas quakes. You can see the oil and gas plots here. Why? Because man has drilled into the crust of the earth to pull gas and oil out of the ground. In doing so, when seismic energy finds those holes, it fractures rock, doesn't it? Causing earth to move. That's what's going on here. Man-made earthquake faults causing earthquakes. Okay? Now, we've talked about California a lot lately, haven't we? Let's go up here to Washington. Over here on the eastern side of Washington, this is Riverside, Washington, with a 1.4 tremor. They allegedly had an explosion here, but guess what? It wasn't an explosion yesterday, it was a tremor. This they got right. This is also 1.4 tremor here. There's no such thing as explosions here. Just outside of Seattle Airport, they allegedly had an explosion some 2 miles down. It was not an explosion. It was an earthquake. Tremor. That was about a year ago. I talked about it on this channel, in fact. I showed it. Guess what this is? These are tremors at Mount Rainier. Guess what, folks? This one here. This one here is at Camp Muir. This is a 0.4 microquake at Mount Rainier. But guess what? There are not just microquakes here. There are tremors and small earthquakes here at Mount Rainier. This earthquake here, it's also considered a 0.3 microquake. Guess what? This was recorded at Camp Sherman. There are earthquakes and tremors all over the seismogram here at Camp Sherman. Over here, this is the southwest flank of Mount Rainier. There are earthquakes and tremors here. This is at the seismograph that's called Emerald Ridge. Earthquakes and tremors all over. 2.2s, 2.5s, maybe even a 3.0 today. Even a 3.0 today. It's very interesting what happens here, doesn't it? It's all over. Okay? South of Mount Rainier. This is interesting. This is, they say, 10 kilometers, which is about 4-5 miles east-southeast of Ashford, Washington. Oh, isn't that interesting? This is connected to what? Mount Rainier, a 0.7 microquake. Really? All they can show us is microquake activities? Really? How about this one at Mount St. Helens? All sorts of activity at Mount St. Helens today. This, folks, here. USGS has this at Amboy, Washington. 37 kilometers north-northeast of Amboy, Washington. USGS, get your heads out of your butts. This is at Mount St. Helens. They're calling this a 0.9 microquake. How about a 1.7, 2.8 earthquake? 1.7 tremor to 2.8 earthquakes. And there's plenty of them. Over here on the western side of the rim of Mount St. Helens, they're saying this is a minus 0.3, which means above sea level. Guess what, folks? 2.8 kilometers deep inside the volcano. Just over a mile deep inside the volcano. Above sea level, folks? Think again. They want to try to tell us that nothing is going on. There's plenty going on here. Plenty going on here. Over here in eastern Washington, guess what? Guess what this is? This is Mount Hood. Guess what they're trying to tell us about this one? They're saying this is at government camp. This is nowhere near government camp. They're saying it's 8 kilometers northeast of government camp. Really? Really, folks? That would be saying that Mount Hood from the base of the volcano is 4 miles high. It's not. It's not 4 miles high. This is nowhere near government camp, and the 8 kilometers is a joke. It's a joke. This is over just south of the rim of Mount Hood. A 0.6 tremor. There are tremors and minor earthquakes here at Mount Hood. I checked, I know. Yet they want to try to tell us that that's all there is. South of there, what do we have here? This is Cascadia, Oregon, a 1.4 tremor. Interesting, huh? Very interesting. Let me leave this for a few minutes. Let me show you something else that's even more interesting. Because they want to try to tell us that they know better than us. Guess what, folks? They don't know squat. This is Mount Rainier, Camp Sherman. Remember me telling you that that one tremor was over on the north rim of Mount St. Helens? Remember me telling you that? Look again here, guys. Look at these earthquakes and tremors. You see these vertical lines here? If they have a dot in the middle of them, those are actually tremors and or earthquakes. Look what we have here. Yes, we do have some earthquakes that USGS is not telling us about. And yet this same seismogram is a USGS seismogram. Just these two seismic signatures here, and actually there's 3 good-sized earthquakes here. And by good size, I'm telling you that these are at least, this top one here, on the top right here, center right, that's probably a 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. And it may be larger than that. And so are these others right here. Right in the center of your screen right now. And what is that symbol, that sideways rectangle out to the right is? That's a magma churn signal. Magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. This magma churn signal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. Really? Really? Folks, this is about 26 to 27% out of kilt. They're only showing us 26 to 20% or 26 to 27% of real world. Of real world. That means these earthquakes are 3 times that size. 3 times that size. Now we're talking about small earthquakes, 3.2 to 3.5 earthquakes here at Mount Rainier. You see that magma here that's all around these earthquakes here? Magma causes earthquakes. Magma under pressure coming into these volcanic chambers fractures rock, causing the earthquakes, causing the volcanoes to rise in height. Okay? Causing these volcanoes to rise. Look at all these vertical lines here. If you find a vertical line that does not have a dot in it, those are steam signals. Mount Rainier is steaming, folks. They will never come clean here. None of the pictures that they have here of Mount Rainier show it steaming. But you see earthquakes here all over. It's just not one or two tremors here like they would have us believe. All of these are earthquakes. Every last one of these are earthquakes. And look at all the tremors as well. And look at all these vertical lines without dots. Mount Rainier is steaming, folks. It's been steaming for a very long time. They can lie to us. They can show us false data that shows nothing is going on, but you can't prove it by the data here. The same thing goes for Mount St. Helens. The same thing goes for Mount Hood. They don't want us to know the truth. Plain and simple. Folks, it's a sad day. Mount St. Helens is also steaming. Mount St. Helens has one heck of a lot of magma coming into this volcano. Look at the earthquakes and tremors here. Look at all those small tremors here. You hardly see on the line, each line here is 15 minutes long. They're very thin lines because this seismograph has been turned so far down it's not allowing hardly any data to show up. This earthquake here at the top, early this morning at about, I'm going to say 1:11 this morning, it shows to be at least a 2.0, probably a 3 here at Mount St. Helens. Folks, this volcano is also very active with a lot of magma. Look here at the bottom of this seismogram. Let me enlarge this and let me show it to you here. Look at all this magma. This is what we're talking about. They must have turned the electronics up on the seismograph to have this happen. This is not an anomaly. When multiple lines here are completely covered in color, that tells us that there's a lot of magma coming into the volcano here. A lot of magma. All these volcanoes are recharging. Mount St. Helens has erupted once in 1980, again in 2004, and it's recharging again. When you don't see any white color and all you see is color covering up the white paper, you know that this volcano is putting out a lot of magma and it's getting ready to erupt again. And this is not the only seismograph showing this. That's the vault at Mount St. Helens. This is Sugar Bowl. Look at this one as well. A little bit different, but showing the same properties. Okay? Showing you the same data. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt again, regardless of what they say on the rest of the seismogram, because they turn it down. You see these very small vertical lines with dots. Those appear to be just nothing more than microquakes, huh? Well, guess what? They're probably a lot larger than that. If the seismograph had been turned up like it is here, we would probably see earthquakes. Down here, we can't totally say that this seismograph was turned that far down. We don't know how high it was turned up, but it's definitely high enough to completely cover the white lines of the paper. Okay? It's definitely been turned up to cover that. So guess what? We have a volcano that's recharging, and we have the data to prove it. Okay? A lot of data here, isn't it? Okay? Mount Hood. This is Timberline Mount Hood. Look what we have here. Up at the top, not hardly anything at all. Again, they've turned the seismograph down. You barely see any magma coming in here on the lines. Each line's 15 minutes long. Each line should show magma coming in. It hardly shows anything. Okay? We have magma pulse activity here. You can see the thin lines turning into a little bit thicker and turning them into a little bit thinner as well. That's magma pulse activity. It gets bigger and wanes, gets bigger and wanes. If they turn up the seismograph on this volcano too, it would show an awful lot more activity, because they're lying about the activity here. Mount Hood is very active. Mount Hood is very active. Look at the magma here. You see vertical lines coming through the color here? Those are tremors and earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes. You don't see many vertical lines here on this other part of this seismogram, because they turned the machine down. Heaven forbid that they would be honest with any of us. Okay? Now, I'm showing you the major volcanoes in the Cascadia region. Now, there are some volcanoes that you need to know about in Northern California. Number one, it's called Mount Shasta. Look at this. Mount Shasta is very active. This is seismograph LBF on the southern side of the volcano. This seismograph has been turned off in previous weeks and months. Each of these volcanoes down here in Northern California have around 10 to 12 seismographs all around the volcano. Some of the seismographs have been turned on, but they're producing false data. False data. It's called abstract. It's trash. But what you're seeing here is earthquakes and steam hitting this volcano. Earthquakes and steam hitting Mount Shasta. Look at it down here. All the rest of this time, they've had it turned off, don't they? There's no other data here. It's either turned so far down it's not registering, or it's turned off. But down here we see earthquakes, don't we? And then they turn it off for a few hours here, and then they turn it back on. And automatically the seismic energy starts all over again. Then they turn it down again. See the seismic energy here below this major earthquakes here? These are not 8.0 earthquakes. They're not major. But it's major data. Probably 3.5, 4.5 earthquakes. Small to moderate earthquakes here at Mount Shasta. True story. Then they turn the seismograph down again, and all of a sudden, all you see is these vertical lines, and some of them thicker than others. Mount Shasta is also steaming. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise. Mount Shasta is also steaming. Okay? Let's look and go south at Mount Lassen. Both Shasta and Lassen are the southern volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain range, stretching from in the Pacific Southwest of Canada all the way down through Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. Guess what, folks? Mount Lassen is also recharging. Look at these earthquakes here. Look at these earthquakes here and these vertical lines. Mount Lassen is also steaming. Mount Lassen is having earthquakes here. Now, some of the data on this seismogram is not showing real data. Some of it is artifact, but not all of it. I wanted to show you because some people have been saying that Mount Lassen isn't doing much. Yes, it is. But they are controlling the data that they want us to see. And like I said, some of it is trash. Others of it is good, reliable data. But again, they pick and choose what they want to show us. Earthquakes are happening all over the west coast of the United States and Canada, up and down the entire west coast of North America. Why? Why is this happening? If USGS had their way, we would never see anything going on here. If USGS had their way, we would never see anything going on here. They don't want us to know. Folks, we've talked about this before. We've been talking about it for 4 years now, or 3 years now. There's going to be a Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's going to be a very major 9.0 to 10.0 magnitude earthquake. It's going to happen right up here. It's going to originate off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma, Washington area here, or Tacoma, Seattle. Up here in the Cascadia subduction zone, right here with this red line that you see right here, or it may go out a little bit further to the Juan de Fuca Fault. This zigzag fault area is the Juan de Fuca Fault. Up here on the north side of it, recently this past week, we had a 6.0 here. We've had 6.3 activity before that. Nearly 2.5 years ago, December 24th, we had 3, count them 3, 7.0 earthquakes right here off the coast of northwest Vancouver Island, British Columbia. We've had some 4s and 5s here within the last week. Seismic energy is continuing to hit this area. Just yesterday we had another moderate earthquake off the coast of Port Alice, Vancouver, British Columbia, right here. It's continuing to hit this area. 3 major earthquakes on Christmas Eve 3 years ago. We were praying, fervently praying, that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake would not happen on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We think that we stayed the Lord from allowing it to happen. We hope so. Not on Christmas, when we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, around the world. That would be a sad day, a very sad and poor day, to have a major earthquake destroy people's lives, and to think that it happened on Christmas Eve. So it didn't happen. But the seismic energy is still there. The seismic energy is all over this area. And every one of you need to know about it. Because all of you who live around here and live up and down the coast of Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California, you all need to know that it's coming again. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake will trigger the San Andreas fault right here at the Triple Junction, where the Cascadia megathrust subduction zone meets the Gorda Escarpment and the northern end of the San Andreas fault. The Cascadia subduction zone is going to transfer that 9.0 to 10.0 energy down the San Andreas fault to every city and town up and down the fault. Every city and town up and down the fault. They'll be pretty much destroyed, including San Francisco Bay here. San Francisco Bay. We're right here on the San Andreas Fault at San Francisco Bay. This is the 5th earthquake we've had in Pacifica, California this week. The 5th earthquake this week in Pacifica, California. It's moving, guys. This earthquake fault is moving. You can see it here in this description on this map. You can see the fault line. You can see it here. Okay? It's continuing to move. Over here on the eastern side of San Francisco Bay, this is El Cerrito, California. This is a 1.5 tremor. This happens to also be on the Hayward Fault. Interesting, huh? Almost directly east of there. This is Brentwood, California. Brentwood, California, guys. We have a swarm of earthquakes here. This is a 1.3. This is a 3.7. This is a small earthquake, a 3.7 magnitude earthquake. Anybody living in the hills here in cabins and such felt this quake. Anybody living in these cabins and such areas here felt this earthquake. Now, guess where this earthquake falls, or this earthquake group is hitting? Can anybody tell me where it's hitting? It's on the Walker Lane Fault. This is the western side of the Walker Lane Fault. Up here, folks, this is Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake on the northern side of the Walker Lane Fault. There's going to be a lot of damage soon. I'm sorry, that was not Pyramid Lake. This is Pyramid Lake right here. Okay? We have swarms of earthquakes here. This is a volcano. Pyramid Lake is a volcano. Small swarm of earthquakes here. Mine's 0.1, 7.2 kilometers deep. A little over 2 miles deep. A minus 0.1, supposed to be above sea level, isn't it? 2.5 miles deep. This one is the minus 0.2. This is even deeper. 8.3 kilometers deep. This one here is a 1.9 as well. This is even further deep, a 9.6 kilometer deep quake. Going over here to the west, this is a 1.9, and this is a 1.9. Okay? So volcanoes having tremors here, aren't they? Wonderful thing. Magma causing tremors here at a volcano. The Walker Lane Fault is all throughout this area, guys. All throughout this area. Over to the west, this is Salinas, California, south of Monterey, California. To the east, we have the San Andreas Fault, just south of here. This again is in the Pinnacles, also on the San Andreas Fault, but the Pinnacles also have oil and gas drilling wells. Just north of here earlier today, and they've taken it down for whatever reason, there was a 4.2 magnitude earthquake here at Tres Pinos, California. No, I'm sorry, it was a 2.7. 2.7 at Tres Pinos. They've taken it down. Whatever the reason, they've taken it down. And USGS has just frozen up my map again. There are earthquakes in Los Angeles County, in Riverside County, in Orange County, earthquakes in San Diego County and Imperial County, California. Good-sized earthquakes on the eastern side of the Salton Sea. We talked about the Salton Sea frequently. It happens. Folks, it's going to continue to happen. It's getting worse. More and more earthquakes all over the western coast of the United States. Some of them more inland than others, but it's happening because of these faults. Scientists warned us last week that the Cascadia fault line is about to go. It's about to give way and open up a major earthquake. Scientists also warned us that San Diego is also in the offing for a major earthquake. That means the entire west coast of California is in danger. The entire coast of California is in danger. This is not clickbait, folks. This is the absolute truth, and you can go find it. We've given you the information last week when it first came out. We're in for a major earthquake up north, and we're in for another major earthquake down south near San Diego and or Los Angeles. It's not going to be coming out of LA this time. I think it's going to be in San Diego, then get hit in LA and go east and north. That's what I believe is going to happen. We've seen an increase in seismic activity, an increase in the size of that seismic activity, all up and down the faults here. That's why we put out that advisory. It's not a warning, it's an advisory. Look out. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Look out for a major earthquake in Southern California. Look out for a major earthquake up north. Either way, the entire coastline of Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California is going to hurt in a big way. As soon as we hear anything, we will keep you advised. For now, I need you to write your emergency preparedness plans that we've been talking about. Outline every kind of emergency or disaster that could happen, not just earthquakes. Write it all out. My personal plan is over 110, maybe even 120 pages now, because I've revised it. A business plan that I have here is over 112 pages. Okay? That's how big it is to cover every kind of contingency for what would happen and what you want to do during a major event, and how do you recover your family and your business after the event is over, whether it be a hurricane, a tornado, whether it be a wildfire, a flood, tragedy in the form of a shooting, earthquakes, or any other kind of strong wind event or weather. It's going to happen. That I can promise you. You need to write a plan, and you also need to work on getting your emergency preparedness stuff up to snuff. You need at least 72 hours worth of food, clothes, and other medical supplies and other supplies that you might have or might want to have. I am telling everyone to shoot for 6 months worth of supplies. Food, food storage, survival food, clothes, medical stuff, personal stuff, boots, shoes, hats, flashlights. Make sure you got them, and all the batteries to back it up. You need to do it, and you need to do it now. Not later, you need to do it now. Jamie Wilkes says, I live in Seattle. Guess what, Jamie? You're right there. You're going to be in the thick of it. Lamazalite is here in chat. She's just northwest of where I am, but she is in Asheville, North Carolina, in the mountains of North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains in Asheville. There's earthquakes coming here, upwards of a 5.0, 5.5 earthquake here in the mountains of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. It's coming. Lisa Lee is talking about earthquakes, wars, and fires. Those are already happening. Whether anybody here wants to believe it or not, anybody within the sound of my voice wants to admit it or not, the United States of America is involved in 2 wars, soon to be World War III. We're already there. We have military personnel in Russia and in Ukraine. We're also committed to helping protect Taiwan. China is getting ready to attack Taiwan. China infiltrators have been getting into the United States through the southern border, leaving their passports and their identification cards on the Mexican side of the border, so they're not recognized as people, their original identities. Several Chinese police officers that opened up headquarters in New York have been arrested for harassing Chinese immigrants in New York State. And it's not just there either. There's Chinese undercover police stations all across the United States. There's people here in the United States and around the world, in England, from China, Russians from Russia, fighting age people, men from Central and South America here in the United States. There are criminals from Central America, South America, and Mexico that have come across the border into the United States, and this president here, JB, let them come in, hoping that they would vote for him and his party to keep the Democrats in power. It's destroying this country. Destroying this country. Army medic says a 4.9 off the coast of North Carolina 4 days ago. Yesterday there was a 4.7 off the coast of North Carolina yesterday. 117 miles off the coast. Why? Again, the Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate south-southwest. That's why. That's why. Linda Covington says low frequency waves cause Earth crust movements. She's absolutely right. Texas lady says Ron is absolutely right. Oh yeah. I'm not patting myself on the back. I am giving you facts. I'm giving you facts so you can be ready for whatever happens. You need to know. You need to get yourselves and your families prepared, whatever it takes. Now, at the beginning of this program, we took a few minutes to tell you to watch this program, to subscribe to the program, and also to hit or click on that bell icon so you're subscribed and you get notified when we come on the air. It usually is between 6 and 7 o'clock during the week, weekdays. On Sundays, we have a Sunday school class at 12 noon Eastern Time. But there's something else. Please hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like button to let YouTube know that you appreciate this program and what we've given you. Please. Watch the amount of time you spend with us. They also monitor that. That's part of the analytics. The more time you watch this program, the more people that we have watching this program, the more subscribers we get, the more chance that YouTube will let other people see this program. It's a fact. Also, be advised, YouTube keeps unsubscribing people from our channel. Right now, we're just less than 800 family members here on the EMA channel. Please, folks, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. It's very important. Now, before I leave tonight, I want to give you something to think about. In connection to what we said last night, okay? I want to get all of you where I want to be. I want to be in heaven, and you guys want to join me. I gave you 3 ideas last night. If you don't know them, go back and watch the last of last night's program. Tonight, and I told you about this last night, tonight's thought comes from the book of Colossians in the New Testament scriptures. Colossians chapter 3, verse 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Starting off with verse 17. And whatsoever you do in words and or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. 18. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands, as it is fit in the Lord. No woman has a right to be abused. No woman has a right to be abused. Yes, Wolfman, I did see the Chinese in Costa Rica headed into the United States. It's been happening for a long time. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, as it is fit in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Be not bitter against them. Husbands, love your wives. Verse 20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto the Lord. Men and women, you have no right to abuse a child. Do not abuse a child. That will get you sent directly to hell. Do not pass go, and do not collect $200. Verse 21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they become discouraged. Fathers, provoke your children not to anger, lest they become discouraged. 22. Servants, obey in all things your masters. This includes us as employees and our bosses being the master. Servants, obey in all these your masters, according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. Give your employers a full day's work. Don't cheat your boss. 23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, do it happily, as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of your inheritance. Ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Jesus Christ. For ye serve the Lord Jesus Christ. The scriptures teach us when we are in the service of our fellow man, we're only in the service of our God. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, please take this advice to heart. Get prepared. Know what's going on around you. Keep your heads on a swivel. Get prepared. Bring your families along with you. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands, but do not let them abuse you. Husbands, love your wives. Don't abuse your wives. Wives, don't abuse your husbands. Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger. Don't provoke your children to anger. Give your employers a full day's worth of work. Do not cheat your employers. Serve your fellow man. When you are in the service of your fellow man, you're only in the service of your God. May God bless us and protect us and bless us so that we might obey the Lord's commandments, that we might live up to the covenants that we make with the Lord our God. Let's keep the promises we make to the Lord, because He is not the one that will break the promises. He will deliver. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. If anything else happens between today and tomorrow, we will be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Hope you have a good night and a better day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Welcome to the weekend. Have a great night, folks. We will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Much love.